All right, we're diving into the core principles of ISO 37001-2025. Just so you know, this material is created by EasyPathUni in coordination with Yazan Ibrahim. Let's get right to it.
You know, every business thinks about risk. We're talking market shifts, competition, supply chain chaos. But what about the one risk that lurks in the shadows? The one that can absolutely torpedo your company's reputation and finances, seemingly overnight. That risk is bribery. And it's not just a legal headache, it's a fundamental business threat that can rot a company from the inside out.
So how in the world do you fight back against a threat that's so global, so complex, and always changing? Well, the answer is a unified global front. That's where ISO 37001 comes in. It's the international framework designed to give any organization, big or small, a solid game plan to build a defense against bribery.
Think of this standard as a blueprint for your company's immune system. Seriously, it's called an Anti-Bribery Management System, or ABMS for short, and its whole purpose is to prevent, detect, and respond to bribery threats. The real beauty of it? It's incredibly flexible. Doesn't matter if you're a tiny nonprofit or a giant multinational corporation, this framework is built to scale and adapt to exactly what you need.
And here's the thing. This system just got a massive upgrade. The world has changed a lot since this standard first came out, and for 2025, ISO 3700 has evolved right along with it. So let's break down some of the most important changes, the stuff you really need to know.
You can see a real shift in thinking here, can't you? We're moving away from a static, check-the-box mentality to something way more dynamic and alive. For instance, a simple compliance function now has to be an independent anti-bribery function. That gives it real teeth. A one-time due diligence check? Nope. Now it's about ongoing monitoring of third parties. But maybe the biggest leap is the move from a general leadership duty to demanding an explicit anti-bribery culture.
And this whole focus on culture, it's a total game changer. The 2025 update makes it crystal clear. A policy sitting in a dusty binder on a shelf just isn't going to cut it anymore. Leadership is now officially on the hook to actively build an environment where doing the right thing is a core value. Something that's actually lived out every day, not just something people vaguely remember from their orientation. Now this one might make you scratch your head at first. Climate change in an anti-bribery standard? But think about it for a second. As new environmental laws pop up, and as the race for green resources gets more intense, what also goes up? The pressure and the opportunity for corruption. This is a really forward-thinking rule that forces companies to look down the road and protect themselves from the bribery risks of tomorrow, not just today. Okay, so with all these new rules, how does a company actually make this work without getting overwhelmed? Well, the whole standard is built on 4 really smart, common-sense principles that keep it both powerful and practical. These 4 pillars are everything. First up, proportionality, which means your controls have to actually fit your company's size and real-world risk. Second, it's risk-based. You focus your time and money where the danger is actually greatest. Third, leadership accountability. The buck stops at the top. Management is responsible. Period. And finally, continuous improvement. This is not a one-and-done deal. It's a living system you have to keep monitoring, auditing, and making better.
And that first principle, proportionality, is just so crucial, especially if you're running a smaller business. This standard is not meant to be some impossible burden. It's designed to scale with you. Your anti-bribery system should be tailor-made for your specific risk profile, not for some global behemoth.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the requirements, but let's get to the real question, the one everyone's thinking. Why bother? What's the payoff? I'm telling you, this is about so much more than just keeping regulators happy. There are real, tangible benefits for your business.
Well, first, you've got the obvious legal shield. Putting this system in place helps make sure you're compliant with all the major anti-bribery laws out there. It dramatically lowers your risk of getting hit with crippling fines, and hey, if something does go wrong, having a certified system is a powerful defense. It shows regulators that you took this seriously and did the right thing.
But honestly, the legal protection is just the start. The business case is where it gets really exciting. This is how you build deep trust with your customers, your partners, your investors. A stellar reputation for integrity isn't just nice to have, it's a massive competitive advantage, especially when you're bidding on big contracts. Plus, it creates a culture that the best people want to be a part of.
And that's the bottom line. For way too long, people have looked at compliance as just a cost center, right? A necessary evil. But What ISO 37001 does is completely flip the script. It lets you turn your anti-bribery efforts from a defensive chore into a proactive, strategic asset that makes your entire business stronger, more resilient, and way more trustworthy.
So in the end, look, anybody can write a policy. It's easy to stick it in a manual and call it a day. But building a real, living, breathing culture of integrity, that's the hard part. So the real question ISO 37001 leaves us with is this. Forget the paperwork for a second and ask yourself, in your organization, what really happens when no one is watching?